Big Sills! Welcome aboard, National Football Show. Man, yes, I see some of you are saying, like Michael, just an absolute ton to cover. Appreciate each and every single one of you every day coming here to check us out and making us one of the fastest growing shows when it comes to streaming, especially in sports. We are just catapulting up the ladder here, and it's all because of you guys. You know, I'm going to say one more thing here. I've learned one thing, especially about Philadelphia. The sports fans in that city, no matter who you have on the air, it doesn't matter. Those stations are always going to do well. You know why? Because the fans don't give a shit who's on the air. They want their voices heard when it comes to their respected sports teams. Why do you think we're doing so well at JAKIB? Because especially with us, dude, I'm engaged with you guys. My show, and I'll say this to you guys until my last second on this network. My show would not be anywhere near is and where it can be without you and without us having dialogue back and forth. And I mean that with all sincerity. Dude, when I first started and I was giving you my bullshit takes, I'm doing 200 views, this and that. Dude, we're killing it. I mean, we're like, with all the platforms and such and all the postings and the Twitter, we're like near 1 million views. It's crazy. Nobody, I would think, digitally in Philadelphia watches anyone else more than what we do. And it's because of you guys. And I say that with all sincerity. By the way, I want to make sure that we send some love out. The Canadian wildfires in the New England area, now down through Philadelphia. I'll tell you this, man. We know I've been through those things, but they're out in California, and it's brutal air quality. I think it's even affected like the Eagles and their OTAs and such. And those things are brutal. Air quality alone, especially in the Northeast because of the pollution, then you add that to the top of it, it's never a good environment. So make sure you take care of yourselves because, again, between the pollution that we have in the Northeast and now the wildfires, I mean, not good. So you don't have to go outside, pull up a chair, put your phone somewhere, watch us on your tube. If you're in your car, we got you, and we got you covered here. By the way, Merrill Reese will join us at 4:30. We appreciate you coming aboard, like I say to you all the time here. Game 3 of the NBA, and from my friends are telling me this, they're going, Sills, this thing looks like War of the Worlds. I'm like, I get it, man. It's got that, like, that sun, you know, that red sky and shit. It looks like the War of the Worlds. I'm like, all right. Game 3 of the NBA playoffs are tonight. I can't wait to watch it. You know what's shocking? The ratings have been awesome. The ratings have been awesome. It's nice here in Florida. Bob says it's nice here in Florida. Hey, Bob, how long did it take you to start having breast sweat when you left your house this morning? Just asking. You see, when you live in Florida in June, have to understand this. The second you walk out your door, you're sweating. It's beautiful sun here. How's that humidity? Okay, hey, how's that humidity going, Bob? It's hard to breathe for real. Sue, let me give you a little small story here. Hey, F you, Bob. Hey, Sue, let me give you a story. So, like, we lived in Los Angeles where my daughter was born. Hot, wet blanket. I know, man. Dude, the most difficult. Hey, dude, no doubt. My daughter was born in Los Angeles, right? We went through a wildfire. This much soot was on my back porch. Stuff was just raining down. And it is, dude, when you get that kind of stuff, like it's in the air and you see it and you can't breathe. Holy shit. Chuck goes, South Carolina. South Carolina humidity? Bob, let me just say this to you. Here, I went down to, because I'm from the Northeast, like most of you that come here. So I go down to South Florida for the first time. And I go on a recruiting trip. Hey, it's December. Damn, this is nice. Wow. This is paradise. I get down there in September. I got jeans on and a flannel shirt. Dude, I started melting like I was a piece of butter in a pan. I said, wait a minute. I got to practice in this shit? And back then, they could practice you like slaves and like forever. And you're like, holy cow. Dude, they beat us down. And I'm like, I called my grandfather the next day. And I said this, I go, I can't do this. He's like, well, if you come home, you're going to the Army. I was like, the Army or South Florida? Man, 2 weeks it took me. And then you know what my coach starts saying to me? My coaches go like this. Just think when those fat bodies come down from the north in September and in the fall, how they're going to feel. Once you get through it, it's an advantage. You're right. Man, you'd watch these guys from Notre Dame or Michigan or Oklahoma or any of those guys come rolling into the Orange Bowl. These guys are like this, man. They're like Weebles. Oh, pretty hot, isn't it? Hey, and I would be doing this. Pretty hot, isn't it? That guy's sitting there going, how do you do this, man? I go, dude, it took me 2 years to do this. This is the middle of the game against Notre Dame. I'm saying this shit. Pretty hot, isn't it? The guys are going. And Jerome starts laughing. He's like, you're wearing them out, man, with that shit. Pretty hot, isn't it? Holy man, horrible. Dessou, horrible? What up, maniac? How you doing? Hey, by the way, I got to do this. I'm sorry, but hey, Tone, you're going to have to give me a second here. Because I'm breaking down. Hold on. The PGA golfers are really affecting me. Hang on. And the millionaires and that Jay Monahan's going to go down as the absolute worst commissioner in the history of sports. Dude, I don't mind you lying, stealing, thieving for self-preservation. Everyone does it. Good with it. Hey, everyone will lie to keep themselves alive, to keep their fortunes, to help their legacies. They'll try to rewrite it. Shit. Some of you try to rewrite Jalen Hurts' history. Well, he was brought here to be a franchise quarterback. No, he wasn't. He was brought here to be a seatbelt. But now, hey, here's the things you don't do in sports. You don't use Hitler as a reference. You don't attack Jews and the Holocaust. You don't attack George Floyd. You don't attack the 9/11 victims. Because no matter if you're right or you have facts on your side, no one cares. They're still victims in the end. Whether you're right or wrong, it's a nowhere debate. Why would you reference Adolf Hitler? Why would you reference the Holocaust? Why would you reference slavery? Why would you reference 9/11? To save yourself, you grabbed the lowest hanging fruit thing that you thought would be able to self-preserve your PGA Tour. And you went after the 9/11 victims. And now, there's no walking back over that plank. I don't know how that guy doesn't resign. Jay Monahan. I don't know how he doesn't resign. Hey, Sills, I had my first cannoli this weekend. It was a strawberry since I was at the Strawberry Festival. Oh, man, I love that event. My wife and I used to go to that all the time, Jeff. That's a great event. The Strawberry Festival. Fantastic. Okay? Crazy to bring that shit up. Well, you know, how do you tell the 9/11 victims if you're on the Live Tour and you're like, this is going to blow up in that guy's face? How is he going to walk back over that if they end up doing that? Hey, by the way, I'm going somewhere in the NFL with this. Do you know the one thing the Saudis have shown American sports fans? Hey, you may think you're who you are, Jerry Jones, or the PGA Tour and all that. The Saudi money is endless. You know why? Because you fuel us. The American dollar is what keeps Saudi Arabia alive and makes them quadrillionaires. I don't even know if that's a word. So here, you know what the Saudis are going to do next? When is it next that the NFL gets approached by Saudi Arabia to buy a team? You put a front man in there with the group that bought the PGA Tour, and you buy an NFL team. How long before Saudi money goes into the NFL? And by the way, you think the NFL owners are going to turn that money down to double their net wealth? Before Lionel Messi agreed to play for the MLS in Miami, he turned down a $1.25 billion contract to play in Saudi Arabia. Yeah, how's that look today? Might want to. Now he's an MLS guy. I couldn't tell you when that season starts. They bought F1. They bought the PGA Tour. Now you think they're coming for the NFL? Why not? But they're more in those global sports. F1, golf. These guys, hey, man. These are the same people that funded Osama bin Laden. What about the New York Times guy who died? What about it? You funded Osama bin Laden. I mean, and the government put Osama bin Laden, the United States government put him in power in the Afghan war to fight Russia. What do you want me to say? Woo! You think the NFL's next? Dude, I wonder if they're just going to start going now buying sports teams and leagues all over the place. Because now the PGA Tour showed you, no matter how much shit you throw at them, it's not enough to stop them. And then pretty soon people are going to be going like that. Because look, hey, if you can increase your net wealth and double it, wouldn't you? No matter what the ramifications were, you can always justify something. You can always hear that gosh dang Deshaun Watson is a pig. He's disgusting. You see his behavior? What father or man would have that man in his place of business? How about this? Deshaun Watson couldn't get a job anywhere in America. He couldn't get a job at 7-Eleven with his history of sexual harassment, allegedly. He couldn't be a librarian. Well, he can get $230 million in the NFL. And this is how Browns fans, here's how they justify it. Baker Mayfield sucked. We needed to upgrade. Let's get Watson. Yeah, what about, hey, don't bring it up. You know, don't bring it up. Now, let's try to walk past it now. Oh, wait. What do you mean walk past it? This guy had 28 sexual harassment violations that he had. He was out of ball for 2 years. They suspended him. Well, not really. They never did. The NFL never really did suspend him. 8 games. He did get 8 games. He did get 8 games. Woo! Holy cow. 5-star goes, Sills, we need to sit down and talk about history and current events and politics. You know what I've come to the conclusion, 5-star? They're all scumbags. No matter who you are and what side of the aisle. And I learned this. Last thing on Trump. Do you know why they don't want Donald Trump to be the president of the United States? It's not because it's Donald Trump. It's because they don't want an outsider in seeing what they do on both sides of the aisle and how they make money and how they steal money from the United States people. That's why they don't want an outsider in again. This is more about an outsider running for president than it is about Trump. I could give a shit about Trump. This is about an outsider. Because when an outsider walks into that business known as politics, and you know why the great executives in America that are 35 to 40 years old don't run for president? Because it's a bad business plan. It's a bad business plan. No business in the United States of America would run the way our politics runs. Okay? And that's why the Saudis know that. They knew it. PGA wasn't going to stand up to that money. That's right, Neil. Trump is like Buddy Ryan and Jerry Jones. That's who I compare him to. Okay? Again, dude, I don't care if you like Trump or not. It's not about Trump. It's about an outsider exposing how Washington runs. They can't get shit done. Taking vacations, lifetime benefits. They vote themselves lifetime benefits, and you and me don't have them. We don't have benefits. We got to pay for our benefits. They don't. And we put them in power. How'd that work? It's crazy. So again, both sides, not one side, it's both sides. I've come to the conclusion. That's why 5-star goes, let's talk about there's nothing really to talk about. They don't want an outsider ever again to run for president. This is about keeping outsiders out. Because outsiders know the business plan and how they extort money from the American people. Simple. All right. We are going to have some fun today. More fun than the PGA Tour is having. More fun than they're having. I can tell you this, that Jay Monahan. Hey, dude, you know that Pope that only lasted like a few months? Dude, I got to think that this guy's going to last a little bit less than that Pope that lasted and got poisoned years and years ago. Okay? I mean, right? All right. 2 things we're going to do today. The most interesting NFL teams, my top 10 Big Sills most interesting teams, and the most interesting players in the league. We're going to do that. By the way, I want to bow my head, and I want to give reverence to the Iron Sheik as he has passed on. And one of the great things about WWF wrestling back in the day, my grandpa and I used to watch it religiously every day. My grandpa loved the Iron Sheik. Him and Sergeant Slaughter going back and forth during that time, man, was just iconic. Those great matches between Sergeant Slaughter and Iron Sheik. Dude, man, off the top rope, Slaughter has the American flag. Man, that shit was just good, man. That was good, wholesome American ass whipping. Kick his ass. What a great showman the Iron Sheik was, though. Tremendous, 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 tremendous. Just a great showman. He was great. Pedro Morales. Dude, Ken Patera. Steamboat. Bob Backwinkel. Bruno Sammartino. Of course, the legendary superstar. Dude, man, those guys were just great. They were just great, man. Tony Atlas, Bob Backlund, man, the champion of champions. My grandpa loved Bob Backlund. Superfly Snuka. Dude, these are all Ivan Putski. Dude, the Junkyard Dogs. You know George the Animal Steel, Colin. You want to hear something? Colin, George the Animal Steel was a school teacher from Syracuse. That's a true story. He was a school teacher in Syracuse, New York. Rowdy Piper is probably my second favorite wrestler of all time. Okay? Next to superstar Billy Graham. I love Rowdy Piper. Dude, Rowdy Piper, man. That's how I envisioned myself when I played college football, was Rowdy Piper. Hey, that guy was like an idol of mine. Dude, when I played, I had the attitude of Rowdy Piper. Dude, he made get this. It is one of the most underappreciated movies of all time. What was the name of that movie he made with the sunglasses? And he made, dude, it was so good. You put these sunglasses on and you saw which creatures were like from another planet. And it was so good, man. I loved it. And he was trying to save the earth and shit. Man, it's one of my favorite movies, man. They Live. That's the movie, man. I love that movie. They Live. They Live, man. That thing is great. Hey, by the way, did I say it already? CTE kicks in sometimes. Merrill Reese will join us in hour number 2 at 4:30. All right. I'm going to start with the previewing of the NFC East. Please hit the like button, guys. Chief Jay Strongbow. You know Chief Jay Strongbow was a New York Jet? Yeah. Strongbow was the New York Jet. I want to say Orndorff, I think he was a Kansas City Chief, if I'm not mistaken. I think Paul Orndorff was a Chief. Oh, Don Morocco, man. That's another great name from the past. The Road Warriors were dear friends of mine, both of them. I love those two guys. God rest their souls. The greatest tag team in the history of professional wrestling are the Road Warriors. Just the best. Dude, you know what? You know who reminds me in today's NFL of the Road Warriors? Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce. Those two, when they do their show, they remind me of the Road Warriors. They're like the Road Warriors, man. Because again, Animal was kind of like the crazy one, and Hawk was kind of more like the mean one. And they're really great guys. But Mike, who was the Hawk, man, I spent a whole summer in Austria with him. And we became so close. What a great dude, man. Died of a heart attack. Man, I love him, man. Ric Flair was kind of unapproachable a little bit. But me and the Road Warriors hit it off just so good. And Leon Lett, Big Van Vader. My wrestling buddies were Vader, the Road Warriors, Cowboy Bob Orton, Ole Anderson, and the Ultimate Warrior. Those were my closest friends. Oh, no. Oh, yeah, and Scott Hall, Razor Ramon. I used to work out with Razor Ramon in Orlando. My wife and I worked out with him. This guy was a great-looking guy. Every time he showed up, I was like, easy, Kim. Big Cat Ernie Ladd, man. He could play some ball, too. I think he was also with Kansas City Chief. All right, let me get into this now. Seals, I love Steve Austin. He was another football player. Yeah, Scott Hall, man, really a great dude. Shot and killed a guy. He was a stripper, not a bartender, but he was a doorman at the Dollhouse in Orlando, and he was hitting on this this chick that was in there. And this guy brought a gun, and he got the gun out of his hand, took the gun and shot him. He got off. Scott Hall shot this guy, killed this guy. He did. This guy came in to kill him. Scott got the gun and killed him. It's a true story, man. Yep. Scott Hall. Hey, Nash is one of the coolest guys on the planet. I got so drunk with him in Daytona. He fell in the bathroom. His head hit the sink, broke the sink. It came out of the wall. Me and Crawford Kurt, a former Cowboy lineman who knew him very well, were laughing so hard. Water shooting everywhere. He fell down because he had so many shots. Hit this sink. Dude, he broke this sink into 1,000 pieces. You would have thought he dropped a glass on the floor. Boom! This guy's noggin was like a 20 head. Hit this thing on the floor, man. Unbelievable. He was really a great guy. Nash is a good people too, man. All right. By the way, I think we've had Jake the Snake on the show too. By the way, Jake's another good friend of mine, Jake the Snake. Or Dallas Diamond Page. We've also had on the program. Love them dudes. All right. I want to do a preview as we get ready for training camp of the NFC East. And here we go. This is how I see these teams, and I got them in order here. This is the Big Sil's NFC East preseason preview for the 2023 season. Let's start with the New York Giants. I think the New York Giants are going to finish in last place in the East. They have changed the culture. The general manager and Brian Daboll, they have changed the culture in the building. And I think for the better. I think it's trending up. I think they have calculated wrong on Daniel Jones. But I think the GM and Daboll, I think it's all good. I think they got good management, probably the best since Jerry Reese. And I would say Tom Coughlin. You got a nice relationship between the head coach. The head coach likes the general manager, obviously, with the relationship in Buffalo. So for me personally, the culture, this is the one thing that the Eagles make sure that they do each and every single year. They keep the culture alive at NovaCare. Because without the culture, you can't start anywhere. I don't care. You ever notice that certain businesses or teams, what they'll do is they'll hire a coach, but it doesn't matter because why? The environment's still the same. They can't get the wall scrubbed enough, or they can't clean up the mess that's been made there for decades of losing and a losing mentality. And I think the Giants, they've had a decade of horrible football. It's been a decade. And I think these two guys came in and did a nice job cleaning the walls and scrubbing the hallways of what the funk that was in there. And I think they're heading in the right place. However, $46 million for Daniel Jones. Darren Waller, they go out, they get a move. Now here, Darren Waller, in my opinion, if stays healthy, he is going to either help Daniel Jones or expose Daniel Jones. We're going to find out, I think, this year in 2023, who Daniel Jones is. We're going to find out who he is. He won a nice game against Minnesota. Great. But who is he? Played a couple good games, had a nice stretch, but he beat the Minnesota Vikings. I'm not thinking that that's that great a chore, and I can't think that that's that great of achievement that he beat the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota, how many wins did they have this year? Had to have been the most even more so than Dallas, had to have been the most underachieving football team. When you have Justin Jefferson on it, it has to be one of the most underachieving football teams in the NFL last year. I agree with you, Maniac. He's mediocre at best. Watch this. He's good. I mean, like, when you see Daniel Jones, do you see him better than Ryan Tannehill? Maybe a little. See, that's how I look at it. Ryan Tannehill Daniel Jones, like I would take Jared Goff over Daniel Jones any day. Any day. So we're going to find out who he is. I think the Giants finish in last place in the East. Some people like the Giants. And the Giants have one of the hardest schedules in the NFL. Where in the world do you think they're going to improve when they still don't have a lot of pieces? The wide receiving core is okay. The left tackle's very good. The defensive tackle's very good. The rest of it, spotty. 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 The Commanders, I think, finished third. Here's the problem with the Commanders. Look, I can evaluate every single position on the Washington Commanders, but the uncertainty at the quarterback position, no matter what you say, no matter how you slice it up, the uncertainty at the quarterback position will always trump anything that you break down. Do they have a good D line? Yes. Do they have good this and that? Yes. Are they talented at the wide receiver? Yes. But the uncertainty at the quarterback position, it prohibits you from going any further than that. Getting Eric Bieniemy in the building is a good hire. Now, is it? How many people think the Eric Bieniemy hire is good? Like, do you think Kansas City's going to miss a beat without Eric Bieniemy in the building? I don't. We're going to find out about Eric Bieniemy. I'll tell you this. I'll make a prediction. If the Washington Commanders make the postseason, Eric Bieniemy will be the highest and the hottest head coaching candidate in the NFL this next coming offseason. If that Washington Commander, and he's able to get Sam Howell or whomever, Jacoby Brissett, to the playoffs, he'll be the hottest candidate when it comes to coaching availability because everyone will finally go, holy shit, he was that good. Because personally, right now, here's my problem hiring Eric Bieniemy. I don't believe he's who people think he is. You know why? I don't know. Andy Reid's the play caller. Andy Reid's the guy who talks to Mahomes. Andy Reid's the guy that designs the offense. I think Eric Bieniemy had some input, but not a lot. This is the same shit we said about Doug Peterson. Let me say this to you. If Doug Peterson doesn't win that Super Bowl in Philadelphia, we'd be talking about Doug Peterson the same way we talk about Eric Bieniemy. Well, I don't really know. You know, he was on Andy's coaching staff. Is he really good or was it Andy? Okay? I don't know. Is it? Sills, would you make a move for Chase Young? Absolutely not. Washington, that young, defensive player of the year 2 years ago? No way. I have no interest in it. I think he's hurt. He may be good next year. The only reason I think that the Washington Commanders have him available right now because they know he's not going to be available this year, especially early on in the season. I do not believe that. Again, lack of experience at the quarterback position, the uncertainty at quarterback, the Commanders, and the uncertainty of who Eric Bieniemy is. Find out who he is. I don't know. Spare the sympathy. Nobody wants to be Bieniemy. It's not sympathy. I just don't know who he is. Shit, man. You guys didn't know who Andy Reid was. You hated the hire. Stop lying. You hated the Andy Reid hire. Quarterback coach in Green Bay? Who's that? You think he calls the plays in Green Bay? Mike Holmgren calls the plays in Green Bay. Who's Andy Reid? You were saying that. I know you were. I covered it. You guys were like, oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, he looks okay. Well, yeah. Then he turned out to. Well, how many times you get lightning in a bottle like that? You think that Eric Bieniemy is going to be Andy Reid 2.0? Joe Philbin wasn't. So we'll see. By the way, I'm Switzerland on it. I'm Switzerland. I don't know. Nobody respected the hiring of Andy Reid in Philadelphia. Jalen Hurts was brought in here to compete with Carson Wentz. No, he wasn't. Everyone tries to revise history all the time. I'm here to stop that shit. I will not let that go down like that. Everything and everyone has a chapter and everyone is building their legacy. Don't try to, you can't go back once. Hey, look, when books like For Whom the Bell Tolls are written by Hemingway and they're published, he can't go back and change chapters. It's what it is. But seeing sports, fans like to go back after the book has been published and kind of like rip the pages out and put a new page in there and edit it. You can't edit one's legacy. There's no editing legacy. You know how they try to edit Kobe Bryant's legacy because of Colorado? Shh, we skip over those chapters. It's chapter 9, 10, 13. We forget those other chapters in the book, right? What happened to 10, 11, and 12? Oh, well, I don't know. Right? Okay. Now we move up to number 2. The Dallas Cowboys. A threat to the Eagles. Okay? Last year, here's my assessment on the Cowboys getting ready for camp. And the true assessment. Not this shit you hear by people talking about the Cowboys because it's fashionable. Here is how I look at Dallas. Dallas last year, their injuries early prohibited them from actually trying to be a team that could compete with the Eagles because there were too many injuries at key positions. And for the record, they're not talented at many premium positions. Okay? They're not. And a year ago, they were not. So health for the Cowboys, because they're not a deep team. Again, they're not deep. The Cowboys, do you know why the Cowboys are not a deep team? Because they overpay at those positions that I just talked about. And here, are they a legitimate Super Bowl contender? Are the Cowboys a Super Bowl contender in 2023? I'm saying yes. And here's the only reason. If they were in the AFC, absolutely not. But a couple key injuries to Philly, San Francisco, Seattle, they win it. The margin, you see, the one thing that the Eagles have slid, I'll get to my take on Philly here in a minute. Okay? The problem with Philly and how do I think the Philadelphia Eagles have lesser talent this year going into training camp than they did a year ago? I don't know, man. I think they're more athletic, but however, the one area of the football team, they're not deep. You're not as deep. Like, if you get hurt in the O-line, you think you're okay? I don't. Especially with the schedule you're playing. If you were playing last year's schedule, I think you'd weather through it, and I think you would manage through it, but you're not. So you're playing tougher teams this year that you're not going to get away playing the Houston Texans or a first-year quarterback in Pittsburgh. You're not going to get away with that. When you lose, if you lose, here's a great example. If you lose Jalen Hurts for 2 games, and that stretch where you got to play the Chiefs and the Cowboys, you're not winning those games. You're not winning those games. Like you're not beating the Jets and Aaron Rodgers with your backup quarterback. You're not going to be able to weather that. You barely did and you lost to the Saints. What makes you think you're going to beat the Bills with a backup quarterback? You're not doing that. John goes, nah, I think we win, Cowboys. Okay, well, you didn't last year against Dak. Dak actually had his best game of the year against the Eagles. In a year where Dak had his worst year. Think about that for a minute with Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott had his best game of the year against the Eagles in his worst season of the year, of his career. Okay? Cowboys played great against the Eagles. Plain and simple. I would say this, health and Dak. Dak's got to have a great year. He's got to have a great year, and the Cowboys got to get a little lucky in health for them to be a true Super Bowl contender. They're a contender if they have health and Dak plays well. They're a contender. And like I said, I could see them in the NFC title game. Again, we'll see. Because every single year, it's a conversation about the Cowboys being a Super Bowl contender. The only reason that I say, and I don't say that often because I don't believe they really have been the last couple of years. The only reason I'm saying that is because of how poor the NFC is. Okay? Yeah, Chuck. And Cooper Rush almost beat you. You want to go there? Use your same philosophy. Dan, I just don't see the Cowboys moving on with Dak. Greasy, I think that's a conversation at the end of the year, especially if it's a failure year. Mariota can beat the Cowboys. Here's a guy that thinks Marcus Mariota can beat the Cowboys when he's on his fourth team. Okay? Seriously. Titans, Raiders, Falcons, now his fourth team, and you think some stiff can beat the Cowboys? Sure. Wishful thinking. There's a reason he's a bust as a first rounder. Now he's in a different role. Could he come in and could he help? We'll see. End of the day, he's a bust. He's a bust. First round Heisman Trophy bust, which most of them are. The Eagles have the best weapons compared to any team he's been on. What's that have to do with being a great quarterback? What's that have to do with being a great quarterback? Zero. I saw Patrick Mahomes beat you with Juju Smith-Schuster. Shitty receivers. As I said it before, the lesser team won the Super Bowl. Your own example of Super Bowl 58 should be what you should always use as your barometer. We were the best talented roster. It was the best roster in the Super Bowl era of the Eagles, and we lost to a lesser roster. Facts. Look at the Heat. They're not as talented as the Nuggets. It's 1-1. That doesn't always work out. We have the most talent. How'd the Bruins do this year? Hey, how'd the Milwaukee Bucks do? How'd they do? You had the best record in the NFL. How'd you do? I finished second. Great. I got the silver medal. So you're rooting. Hey, you're going to go down Broad Street with the silver medal around your neck? I thought in Philadelphia, you only walked down Broad Street when you had the gold medal. I mean, you guys really greased the pole down Broad Street for the silver medal? I don't believe you do. I don't believe you do. Look, I won the consolation prize. Okay. Hey, here's my second place trophy. Oh, better than the bronze. Spoken like a true snowflake, like Philly. Come on, man. Well, I do say this to you, Philly. If you're on the podium, I'm all good with it if at least you're on the podium. You got to be on the podium. I don't want participation medals because fourth place and down, you're right. Those are participation medals. Those things go in the trash can. Trey Lance. Niner. I got some. See, Niner, man, he's made me a better host. Because I always have now Trey Wance. I don't know why I said it just like that. I got Trey Wance. Jeez, something's wrong. Hang on. I got Trey Wance news. Hang on, I'll get it out right. I got a lot of Trey Wance news. Damn. We get some Trey Wance news. Just for a little bit later on. Thank you, Niner. You make me better every day. I can't thank you enough. Seals, don't hurt Niners' feelings. He'll block you. No, he won't. He could take it. Because all them guys out in San Francisco, they could take it. I'm moving on to the Eagles. I'm not going to say the news. I'm not done yet. Previewing the East. Not doing it yet. I think the guys in San Francisco could take it. Oh, I actually love living there, man. Hey, I actually did love it. All right, here's the Eagles. So far, I got Giants 4th, Commanders 3rd, Cowboys 2. And here's the Eagles. Here's my assessment of them. Great expectations, now with great pressure. They should be calling this football team the Philadelphia Bulldogs, not the Philadelphia Eagles. These guys are the Bulldogs. I'm not calling them the Eagles anymore. They're the Philadelphia Bulldogs. They're skilled at premium positions, most notably in the O-line. They're absolutely physical. I don't know how physical they'll be on the defensive side of the football. But I would say that Philadelphia, obviously. Now, where they've come back to the pack, though, is the depth. And I will say this. The kid, Cam Jurgens, is not going to beat out the guy you drafted, Steen. He's going to win that job. You know why? He's better. He's a more talented kid. He's a more And why do I say that Tyler Steen is going to beat out Cam Jurgens? I don't think Cam Jurgens is the athlete that Tyler Steen is. To me, Tyler Steen, coming out of high school, was one of the top recruits in the entire country. And you want to know a little bit about his past? Tell me if this doesn't ring true for you. He was a defensive guy, played multiple positions in his youth, and he turned himself into an offensive lineman. Same way you got with Mulata, same way you have with Lane, same way now you have with Tyler Steen. This kid he's an athlete. And I do not believe that Cam Jurgens is a better athlete than this kid, plus his size. I think this kid here, 6'5" and a half, I think what they have to do is they just got to get acclimated in there, and I personally think he's going to win this job. If you listen to the offensive lineman talking about Tyler Steen, they're raving about him and his footwork. He's got better footwork than Cam Jurgens. Listen to what you do is, it's not so much, look, they're in helmets and shorts right now, correct? Okay. They're in helmets and shorts. Listen to the way the players are talking about Tyler Steen. Steen is talking to them more about how his footwork and his hands, and get this, he's got quick hands, he's smart, he's picking stuff up quick, the stuff that, and one of the things that I loved the most was that Jason Kelce was saying that Tyler Steen, you don't have to repeat things to him twice. He gets it once. So to me, I think he is rapidly picking this up, and I do think that that's an open battle. And just because Cam Jurgens was on the football team a year ago, that doesn't necessarily mean. And I think sometimes some of the people have the notion, well, he's going to be Jason Kelce's heir apparent. Well, what's that got to do with playing right guard? Absolutely nothing. Right guard and center are two different positions. He's probably going to fit right in playing center when Jason Kelce calls it a career. But playing right guard at 6'2.5", 6'3", I don't know. I'd rather give the kid, the bigger kid, the better athlete, the more upside, and more future. Plus, what can you do with Tyler Steen once Lane Johnson calls it a career? You can slide him 3 steps to his right, and there's your right tackle for the next 10 years. Do you understand that you're working right? You've got 2 guys right now in your backup role. One of them is going to be a starter, obviously. But you've got Cam Jurgens. You're in a great position if you're Philadelphia for that right guard spot. Now, filling it will be, I think, a tougher task than what people are thinking. But at the end of the day here, you got 2 guys that you're working at one time that you feel comfortable that could play the left or the right guard position. That's fantastic because these guys are going to get a ton of work. And what you're going to do with both, what's the number one thing? What's the number one thing that you do when you're working with guys like Tyler Steen and Cam Jurgens? You're creating depth. Then you add Jack Driscoll into the conversation too. Now you're increasing and actually having an open spot in your O-line is going to help your depth. It's going to help your depth, okay? So I like it. Now, again, it's just they're too good at all premium positions. The quarterback looks like he's getting better and better and better. And I'm calling this football team not the Philadelphia Eagles anymore. I'm calling this football team the Philadelphia Bulldogs because of all the teams in the NFC, the only other team that comes close to the physicality that they could throw at the Eagles is Niners guys. Now, here's the one thing I would say about Niners guys. Once again, here we are in a position with San Francisco. Aren't you guys tired in San Francisco of constantly talking about the quarterback position? It's 10 years now. I mean, your best quarterback in the last 10 years has been Colin Kaepernick. Aren't you tired of that? It's been Colin Kaepernick. What's the news story today on Trey Lance? Somebody said something else about Trey Lance today at camp. And to me, you're overcooking it. Yeah, here. Once again, Trey Lance is showing tons of improvement, says Deebo Samuel, from where he was a year ago. He looks better than he was. So you're going to tell me on June 7th, guy in helmet and shorts, that he looks like the part a little bit, or not even the part. They're not even saying he looks like the stuff. Do you know, I have not heard one guy in San Francisco say this. Hey, you know what? Trey Lance looks like the guy. You know what they're all saying? Boy, he's really improved. Boy, he's getting better. Man, he's had a great offseason. Well, not even great. A really, really productive offseason. These are not ringing endorsements. Nobody in Philadelphia is going like this. Boy, I'll tell you, Jalen Hurts is, man, he just looks unbelievable. Nobody's saying that. You give a guy $51 million, I don't have to say that. That's the problem that Jalen's going to, by the way, that's a transformation also that Jalen has to go through. No more, don't do me, don't come on this show ever again going, man, Jalen's really looking good in the preseason and he's getting better. Stop that shit. You gave him $50 million. Duh. Parsons said the Cowboys will be the 2000 Ravens. Bro, are you putting into people's heads that you're Ray Lewis or Terrell Suggs? Give me a break. That guy talks so much shit and he's so overhyped. It's disgusting. He's not that good. Look, I'll take that back. He is a good player, but he's not who he thinks he is. He talks like a Hall of Famer. Man, I could name you 20 better edge rushers and outside linebackers than him that were not Lawrence Taylor. Cornelius Bennett is better than him. He'll never be Cornelius Bennett. Bennett's an 8-time Pro Bowler, was on 5 conference title teams, was the SEC Player of the Year twice, was an All-American, a Lombardi winner, and considered one of the greatest pass rushers in the NFL. He has 80 sacks. He'll never be Pat Swilling. He'll never be Mike Coffey. Mike Coffey was a good pass rusher, but you know why you never heard of him? Because he was in Detroit. Like, will he be better than Carl Mecklenburg? These dudes like that. I mean, I watch him in games. Like I watched him in that Giant game that Lawrence Taylor showed up. He was a non-factor. Those players were all, dude, here, who's the guys that played back in the day on the other side of Swilling? Ricky Jackson. You think Micah Parsons is better than Ricky Jackson? Man, I do not. I do not think that. Not in your life do I think he's better than Ricky. Ricky Jackson was a great outside rushing end. Shit, Wilbur Marshall knocked up. Hey, some of you guys in here are kind of like my age. You guys remember Wilbur Marshall? Do you guys remember Wilbur Marshall? Every time he was like a heat-seeking missile. Every single time that guy got loose and he played in that Bear 46 defense for Buddy, dude, that guy put people in body bags. You don't remember? Well, I'll tell you what you need to do. You need to take a video out and take a look at who Wilbur Marshall was. Zach Thomas is a good comparison to Nakobe Dean. Hey, let's see if he can play first. Comparing him to Zach Thomas. Okay. Yeah, right. Dude, you guys, man. Zach Thomas and Nakobe Dean. If you're talking about size-wise, probably yeah, sure, okay. Zach wasn't the biggest guy. Then again, I don't really think Zach was a Hall of Famer. I made my and I disagree with Jimmy Johnson on that. So I've told everyone on the panel when they asked me my thoughts on Zach Thomas, I went absolutely not. I go, that guy's not a Hall of Fame linebacker. And I thought Sam Mills was not a Hall of Fame linebacker. Just never did. I thought those guys were in the land of really good ball players. But, hey, I had a problem with Jason Taylor. I was like, Jason Taylor, you think he's better than Leslie O'Neal? He's not better than Gastineau. Yet we're talking about Jason Taylor. Which Jason Taylor, really? Javon Curse was a good pass rusher too. You know? So I had a problem with those guys. But Zach Thomas, I think Zach Thomas is a good ball player. Okay, but I didn't do this. Man, he's a tackling machine. Like, people are asking me now in the Hall of Fame, people are about Terrell Suggs. What do you make of him? I'm like, I kind of compare him to somebody like Kevin Green. He's like a Kevin Green kind of player. Levon Kirkland is being also talked about a little. I don't know. I don't think he's a Hall of Fame guy. I think he's a really good player. Yeah, Greasy. Harvey Martin was a really great player. And I think he's a borderline Hall of Famer. I think the other guy on the side, too, Ed Too Tall Jones, I think he was a game-changing football player, but he doesn't have enough Pro Bowls, so he'll probably not get the consideration. But Ed was a force on Doomsday. It wasn't just Randy White. You know, you can't have a formidable defensive line and only one guy go to the Hall of Fame. And that's what the Cowboys have with that Doomsday. It's only Randy. Now, if you go Doomsday 1 with Bob Lilly, there was only one guy on that line, Bob Lilly. How could you have a formidable D-line with one guy as a Hall of Famer? Purple People Eaters, every guy in that line is a Hall of Fame type player. Larson, probably not. Jim Marshall should be. Alan Page and Carl Eller were. Phenomenal players. I debated all these guys. Yeah, Kevin has passed away. He's since passed away. All right. I have a list of the 10 most interesting NFL players. The Big Sil's 10 most interesting football players for the 2023 season. By the way, Merrill Reese will join us at the bottom of the hour at 4:30, hour number 2. Hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football.